Hello, it's Alex. Welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. It's a Friday sews video, but it's been a while since I've done one. I'm having a bit of a slower summer sewing wise, as you know, but I am just back from holiday. I was in Greece last week, and of course I had to make a few things to take with me. So I've got a couple of things to show you, including, let's get straight into it, including this dress, which is the Lois dress from Tessuti Patterns. I noticed, I put a picture of this on Instagram because David took a picture while we were away. I noticed quite a few people seem to be making Lois dresses in the last week or two. So it looks like lots of us had the same idea, and I think it's because it just is a really classic summer dress. For, you know, taking on holiday or here in the UK or wherever you might be. You know, it just has not a separate sleeve, it just has a little sleeve band on the end. So these cap sleeves, I guess, it's like a grown on, it's part of the bodice. It's pretty low cut at the front, and for me, I always feel that it's a bit kind of booby for me. I've made one a few years ago in an Atelier brunette double gauze. When I made that one, I found the same thing, and that may be just because I'm not somebody that's used to wearing things that are quite low cut. But I think in the summer it's okay, and when you're on holiday. Having said that, I do know that some people, those with the bigger bust, have adapted it to kind of raise that neckline a little bit because it's felt a bit too much. So it's one thing to bear in mind with this, but other than that, it's pretty straightforward, and I quite like the way that the dress hangs. You know, it's not too form-fitting, which I personally don't want when it's hot, but it still has a sort of gentle A-line shape, and I really like the length of it. I made no changes to the length at all. So yeah, it's a really nice dress to wear. The only thing I would say with Tessuti is that, of course, they are not massively size inclusive. I did have a little look this morning to see what the largest hip size is, and strangely, even though their instructions are in imperial, they give the measurements in centimetres, and I think the hip measurement was 140 centimetres. I'm not sure what that is in inches, but I know they're renowned for being not very size inclusive Tessuti, which hopefully is something that they will change in the future. The one thing to remember, of course, I don't know what I'm saying, of course, the one thing to remember with Tessuti patterns, if you've ever looked at them before, is they always reference this tear off Vilene tape that they specify. There are set pattern pieces for it, and they specify it in all their patterns. And really that is just to stabilise the edges, especially where you've got this kind of an edge that you really don't want to stretch. So I've never even attempted the tear off Vilene thing. I don't know if you can even buy it in the UK. But you can do the same, get the same effect, either with stay stitching or with, what do you call it, the iron-on seam tape that you just add in the seam allowance. Well, where you're going to stitch, on the stitch line, is where you want to put it. So, to be honest, I can't remember. I think I did a stay stitching. But yeah, you don't need to bother with that Vilene thing. I have made quite a few Tessuti patterns and never used it. Yeah, so I love this. This fabric is from fabric Godmother, and it's a viscose, it's listed as a viscose crepe. I just went to have a look actually, because even though it's viscose, it was really nice to sew with. It's a really nice quality fabric. You know, viscose is a slippery nightmare really, isn't it? To me, I just feel it's you know, I have to learn to love it because I love the drape that you get with viscose, but oh, it can be awful to sew with. But this one has a really nice, I wouldn't say it was a texture, but it has a really nice feel to it, and was really easy and lovely to sew with. So I'm definitely going to keep my eyes peeled for viscose crepe in the future. But I just really liked the pattern on it. I felt it kind of had holiday vibes to it. It's a slightly unusual, not an unusual construction, it's a slightly unusual design in that what appears to, it has a side zip. That's probably the only tricky thing about it, is getting that invisible side zip in. But that actually goes, where the side zip goes in, there is a dart. So there's a dart there and a dart here. And the seam isn't actually along the side. The seam is slightly towards the back. That's, I can feel there is where the seam is. So it's not quite what you would imagine when you look at it, but it comes together really nicely. Pretty easy actually for probably somebody with a little bit of experience, just because of getting that zip in. I wouldn't attempt, you know, sometimes if there's a zip I think, do you really need it? Could I just put it on over my head? But for me, I wouldn't attempt to do that. The other thing that I noticed, a few people commented when I posted the picture of this on Instagram, was that they'd made this Lois dress before and it had come up too big. Now, I was actually in between sizes. Usual story for me. My waist was in a higher size to my bust and my hips, and I decided to wing it, and I went for the lower size option rather than the larger one, and this is what I got, and I feel like it fits pretty well. I'm really, really happy with it. So I don't know, I've not had the experience of it being over large, but certainly I would say, if like me, if you're in between, go down rather than up. But yeah, love this dress. And then I also had a go at sewing swimwear, and I think I mentioned that on my last video. I had a go at sewing swimwear just before my holiday last year, and I couldn't remember why I didn't see it through. I assumed I'd run out of time. But having had a go at swimwear again, I have decided to give it up as a bad lot. It's not my thing. I ended up buying two bikini patterns. One was one I bought last year, which was the North Shore pattern. I think it's from Waves and Wild. And the other was called the High Waist Collective from, I think they're called Swimstyle Creations, Patterns, whatever. I definitely found that the Swimstyle pattern had far better instructions. I liked those instructions much, much more. And it comes with an instructional video. So that was really good. But for me, I found it difficult. I'll be honest, it's not easy because I'm not massively comfortable wearing a bikini. I decided years ago to give up on the idea of wearing a one-piece swimsuit. I was on holiday once and I looked around me and everybody, or all the women, were in bikinis regardless of age and size, and I just thought, why am I sweltering in a one-piece? Nobody cares what you're wearing. Get a bikini. And I still stand by that, but at the same time I'm not massively comfortable, and I just honestly, I made the bikini pants from the High Waist Collective pattern and I just didn't like how they looked. So it wasn't to do with the pattern, it was just I didn't like it, and I liked the Waves and Wild design better, but I just couldn't get it to fit nicely, and in the end I just put it to one side and went to the shops. So I am now the proud owner of a lot of swimsuit fabric because I bought a load last year and I bought a load again this year. I might have a bit of a de-stash. Some of it I think I can use to make active wear, but not all of it. So I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but if you hear me, seriously, if next summer you hear me say I'm going to make a bikini or a swimsuit again, please tell me not to do it, and that is a complete waste of my time. It's not for me. I prefer making dresses and shirts and pretty much anything else. And so on that point, the other thing that I made was a Sicily Slip Dress. This was a really popular pattern when it first came out a year or two ago, and I love it, but I was nervous of it. It's a bias cut dress. There are two options. One is a very strappy one, and one has, both are sleeveless, but one has a wider strap. So the wider strap one you could wear a bra under. The strappy one, no chance. Let me get it. And yeah, I saw people making it last year. I loved the dress and I just was wary of it because as we all know, anything bias cut is very, very clingy, and I just had a feeling that it would be one of those dresses that I would make and not feel comfortable wearing. I decided to just give it a go this year and to forget that, and I'm really glad that I did, because I used this fabric, which I have shown you before. This is the Atelier Brunette fabric that I bought from Lulou Designs. This was going to be a dovetail dress from the Sewing Revival, and then just at the last minute I decided to go for something a bit more strappy. I do still want to make a dovetail dress, and I've still got lots of suitable fabric, so I suspect before summer goes I'm going to do one of those. But yeah, I just love, I absolutely adore in fact, the colour of this fabric, and I think it goes with my hair. So I thought it would look great. Yeah, I'm really, really happy with it. Sadly, I didn't get to wear it on holiday, so it came out on holiday and came back with me because we were really lazy. We had such a nice holiday, but some of the time we kind of went from beach to restaurant, came home, and then couldn't be bothered to move. So we only kind of went out in the evenings 2 or 3 times. I don't know, but we were very happy to do that. We had a beautiful villa. Greece is beautiful. Anyway, get back on topic. So I didn't wear it, but I am intending to wear it now I'm back at home. I'm slightly nervous because I feel like it's a bit dressy, and I don't really want it to kind of be one of those things that I only wear when I'm going out. So I'm determined to just put it on with some sandals and wear it, you know, on a regular day, just for mooching around in, because there's no point making something and not wearing it. But yeah, I really love it. So again, nice and easy to make. I suppose the only issue really, let me just put it down. Yeah, I suppose the only issue really is that inevitably you're using a drapey kind of fabric for that dress. It's in the nature of the design. And you are dealing with the bias, but the instructions are nice, and there is a lot of talking you through how to find the bias on your fabric and how to deal with that. It does have French seams, and it also recommends that you use a small zigzag for your seams, and that makes a lot of sense to me, because you know the fabric is going to pull as it goes around your body, and that just helps it, gives it a little bit of give. Now size wise, I, again, was between sizes. I think I may have hit across 3 size ranges, and being nervous about it being too clingy, I went at the top end, and that was a mistake. In fact, it was once I made it and put it on, it looked pretty awful, because although it clings because of the bias, it just didn't look very good. It was clearly too big. So I had to, well actually I was going to say I had to unpick it. I didn't. I'd actually made it so big that I could just cut the side seams off with my, rotary cutter. And then I just redid it. So yeah, again, I would say, don't be nervous of the bias cut business. Don't do what I did and size go higher. It actually looked better for me to be more true to size. And my other top tip, if you think of making this dress, is because you are dealing with French seams, so you're running those seams twice, try it on when you do the first pass of the seam, because I didn't do that until I'd done the entire French seam. And yeah, I was faced with, you know, in my case, I was lucky I could cut those seams off, but if I'd been having to unpick it, if I hadn't got that much room, it would have been really annoying. So yeah, try it on after the first go. But other than that, it came together really nicely. Yeah, you have got to hang the dress overnight to make sure your hem's not going peculiar, but it was pretty quick to sew. So if you were, you know, going away and you were having a last minute sew-a-thon, it could be a really nice one to make. I really enjoyed making it. So those are the things that I have sewed. Now that I'm back, I feel quite refreshed actually, and quite ready, I was going to say ready to tackle some sewing. I've actually got a list as long as my arm of sewing projects, but also things to do in the home and in the garden. So yeah, I feel really refreshed and raring to go. One thing that I have got coming up, and I thought I would just mention while I was here, is there is a lady who has a YouTube channel here called Nadia. Her channel, I think, is called Stitch and Style with Nadia. If that's not right, I will put a title. She is relatively local to me. She's over in Stockport, I think. And she is organising a sewing social day on the 22nd of July in Longsight, which is Manchester. And it's one of those days where you bring your sewing machine along and you all sew together and have a... In theory, you sew together, but I know what really happens, a lot of chat. So Nadia is organising that. I will put her details below if anyone is interested in coming. It would be really nice to meet anybody else who's based up here in the northwest. Yeah, I've been really hoping that someone in Manchester would do something like that, because I want to go to something, but having organised one of these things before, I didn't really want the stress of having to organise it. So yeah, thanks Nadia. And before I go, I just wanted to show you this, which is some Lucian Day fabric. You know I love mid-century fabrics, and she of course is the queen of a mid-century fabric. I bought this from a brilliant place called Estuary Textiles. They are on Instagram, give them a follow. She has some beautiful fabrics, lots of vintage fabrics, if that's your thing. This, I think, is one of the fabrics that was made when John Lewis had their 100th anniversary. I think it was 2014. And there was a range of them, and it was just typical that when those fabrics came out, I just didn't have the money to buy any. And I was so upset about it. I really wanted to buy some. A few months later, I managed to get one piece in the sale that I've made a little kind of bathrobe out of. But yeah, when this came up for grabs, there's 2 meters of it. Honestly, I nearly cried. I was so excited. Especially this particular one, because I like this colourway. I love everything about it. I've got 2 meters of it, and I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to do with it. I don't know whether it will become something for home or whether it will become something to wear. But yeah, I'm so excited. Anyone got any Lucian Day fabric in their stash they don't want? Let me know. Yeah, but that's it for now. I'll probably be back in a couple of weeks. As I say, I've got plans, so I'm hoping I will have things to show you. Thank you very much, everyone. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.